Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz. Little sidebar here. This is the 499th edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show. I was on Indy Small Biz for 5 years, and then I was on 91.9 FM for 5 years, and now I've been on InspireSmall.biz for 2 years, and this is the 499th edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show. What is Indy's Trusted Servant? That's me, Deanna Morae. I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service. It's really about the culture of the organization, what makes Chick-fil-A and Nordstrom's, and until Christmas break last year, probably Southwest Airlines, better than everybody in their industry. They had great cultures and they somehow kept them. A lot of places start with a great culture, they don't keep it. I really specialize in that. I learned all of that from the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia food market days. But even before that, in the mid to late 50s, when he owned a little grocery store in Broad Ripple, where the Vanguard bar is now, it had one cash register, 8 or 9 employees. One of them was an 8-9-year-old kid, and he lost that store. And 10 years later, he came back and successfully opened O'Malia Food Markets with 9 stores and almost 900 employees. And one of my lessons was never, ever, ever give up. If you're interested in my customer service training or keynote speaking, give me a call at 317-413-9062. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively, local, small biz and community talk where you can feel the pulse of Indy. Today's guest is Deanna Morae of ReZENergize, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to hear all about ReZENergize, but first we want to get to know Deanna a little bit. So tell us about your background and how you ended up with ReZENergize and where you're from and all that jazz.
Well, I was born and raised most of my life I was born in Fort Wayne and raised north of Fort Wayne, way out in the country.
Okay.
In the middle of nowhere, boy, I tell you.
Where'd you go to high school?
East Noble High School.
East Noble,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And then I went to college at Anderson University.
Okay.
And then moved around a bit and then landed back here in Indianapolis where I worked at RCI as a customer relations specialist.
So what year would that have been?
87, 97 or
Okay.
98. I worked at RCI. And
Did you come directly from college to Indianapolis?
No, bounced around a bit. I was living in Michigan for a while, and then that's when I came back. And I actually went to school at Heron School of Art.
Oh, okay.
And so my background, it seems incongruous, but it's not. I was a musician and an artist for many years.
Okay.
I also, like I said, worked, as a lot of musicians and artists do, you still have to have a regular job sometimes until you really make it. And so I worked at RCI as a customer relations specialist while I was also doing my music career. I was actually on one of the morning news programs with my entire band one morning.
What was the band called?
Deanna Morae Band.
Oh, okay.
So, and we were on the radio a couple times.
Very good.
Kind of fun.
Very good. So the Resorts RCI for the uninitiated, Resorts Condominiums International. Does it still go by that moniker, or do you know?
I think it still goes by RCI.
Yeah, okay.
Right up there in the big globe in their front yard.
Yeah. One of Indianapolis's most dynamic companies for a long, long time. And you were you say customer relations?
I was a customer relations specialist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, see, customer relations. That's me, baby.
Right. And so I always we answered letters on behalf of the president or people who were unhappy. And I really the thing that I enjoyed about the job most of all was that feeling that I get to be the hero today, right? I get to be the one who solves the problem of the thing that we didn't get right or that the resort didn't get right. And I loved being able to do that.
That's great. I think you'll appreciate this. When I came full-time with my dad in '75, after 6 years of teaching high school English but working nights in the stores, he gave me several jobs, one of which was he said, "You're going to handle the customer complaints. And this was about a 2-hour conversation. I want you to write these steps down. 11 steps to handling customer complaints." Now, of course, this could have been a letter, could have been a phone call, There was no, internet or anything back then. But he said, if you do this job right, then we'll make people like us better than when we messed up. When they think we messed up.
Right.
Right.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's boy, that's a skill that you don't find very often. Most companies don't even have somebody you can talk to pretty much, right? It would be interesting to go back to Resorts Condominium International and see if they have anybody in your position.
Oh yeah, I think they have several people who are still in those positions because there's always little problems that come up when you're traveling and when there's resorts and you're checking in. There's always little problems that come up.
Right. So, ReZENergize. How did you go from Resorts Condominium to ReZENergize? You're here in Indianapolis, and you've been here since then, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, how did that happen?
Oh, the long and winding road. And I think it's John Lennon who said, life is what happens when you're making other plans. I was making all kinds of other plans. One of them was to be, a very successful musician, rock and roll star, and all of that.
What instrument did you play?
Guitar. I did the
Okay.
singing, the writing, and then formed the band and put it all together so that all the songs were original. And then I went on to do artwork, and I was in the Stutz building for a long time.
Oh.
But all of that is about expression and really, communicating deeply in the songs and in the art that you make to try to inspire people, to try to soothe people, to connect, right? So it's not that big of a leap to go from art and music, which is the expressions of the heart, really getting those emotions out and cathartic things that you do with art and music, right? People really can sometimes heal themselves in a big way by doing something that's creative and expressing those things. And it relates to other people who have also had pain and suffering, that they're like, oh, I love that song, or I love that piece. It moved me because I felt that way. So it's not that big of a leap to go from there into the work that we do with ReZENergize in healing. And
what possessed you to leave RCI and go to what you're doing now, and when did that happen?
What possessed me to leave RCI is I got married. I moved down to the south side. The commute was very long to get back and forth up to RCI, and I had an art show coming up, and I had a booth at the Penrod Art Show. And my husband just said, look, are you going to do the art full time? Or are you going to dive into this? Or are you just going to keep making excuses and keep working? And I was like, well, let me get all my student loans paid off. Let me get it. He's like, you're just going to keep making those excuses, so never mind. And I was like, fine.
Was he trying to talk you into leaving Resorts Condominiums?
Yeah, so that I could really do the art, focus on, are you going to try to really make a go of this or not? And so I did. I made a big leap, gave him my 2 weeks notice, and went and started voraciously getting all of my art stuff together for the Penrod show, so that I had a lot of material.
What year would this be?
Probably maybe 2002 or 3.
So 20
maybe
years
4.
ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. And so then I, like you do, family, children, raising, all of that stuff that you're doing. And then I got into this work with the Wellness Center and the ReZENergize Sanctuary.
How'd that happen? Was this a volunteer? Did you start out volunteer? Or?
No, actually what happened is my background is kind of grave. I have complex post-traumatic stress that I've had for over 30 years. And I've spent 30 years doing everything I could to find a way to heal myself. And I sprinted towards any modality I could find for the last 30 years to try to get some relief for that stress.
The post-traumatic stress was from having the children?
No, the complex post-traumatic stress came from the childhood that I grew up in. It was pretty,
I see. Okay.
It was pretty tragic in all kinds of different ways. And so when the brain is forming under duress and in trauma, it's a different kind of post-traumatic stress than you're an adult and you have a tragic thing happen. Because now it's kind of wired into the way the brain was evolving.
Okay.
So curing complex post-traumatic stress I was told, wasn't possible. Last year, I was told it wasn't possible, even with some of the therapies I was using. And so having spent 30 years just sprinting towards everything, from regular therapy, hypnotherapy, craniosacral, Reiki, I did EMDR therapy, I did ketamine treatments. I did ayahuasca journeys. I did self-improvement training courses. I did meditation courses that were, sit for 4 hours and you're learning how to meditate and get quiet because I wanted to feel better. And it was really exhausting. And I was.
It sounds like it.
And last year I was wearing out. And I was like, I'm kind of not liking it on this planet anymore.
So wait a minute. So back up, because this is getting pretty heavy now. You're still with Resorts Condominiums at that time, or no? You dumped that and you're doing the art.
I was doing the art.
Were you still doing the music?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Up until, I ended up with asthma, and I couldn't breathe enough to sing. Well, why did I have asthma? Because
of stress?
What I've learned is that when all people, have unresolved trauma, unresolved grief, unresolved heartbreak, if it sits there long enough, I think it's too heavy for the material body to carry. And you'll see people start to deteriorate in their health in all kinds of ways. For example, grief sits in the lungs. Consistently, they have found that people who have unresolved grief struggle with COPD, problems with pneumonia.
Well, you're more likely to be diabetic. You're more likely to have a lot of stuff.
And one of the things they found in some of the studies they've done is consistently people who have unresolved trauma, they find that they have shorter and shorter lifespans. So resolving that trauma, healing yourself, forgiving and healing is so paramount to not having early onset major debilitating diseases. And I found that out when I was 25. And the book I read and some processes I was doing to try to figure out how to heal myself. And I decided that I only had about 10 or 15 years to get all this stuff cleared out, or I was going to start to find debilitating
breaking down a little bit.
Yes, breaking down. And so all of that fast forward last year, when I was just to my wit's end, I ended up with long haul COVID. Every bone and joint and muscle in my body.
Were you hospitalized?
I wasn't, because the COVID that I had was very mild. It was like having a cold. I didn't think it was any big deal. But then it settled into the rest of my body. They've been finding, which I think is sad, but it is what it is. They have been finding that people who have severe trauma seem to have a penchant for having that long haul COVID, and it gets deeper into the body and bones, and it's hard to get it out.
What year were you having the COVID? I know COVID struck us in March of 2020. What year did you have the long?
January of 2022.
January of 2022.
Yeah, I didn't.
So we were pretty far into the COVID.
Yeah, I was so proud of myself because I was like, woohoo! I've already made it for a whole year and a half, no COVID. Yeah. And then January of 2022, I ended up with COVID, and I didn't think a thing of it. And then as February and March and April came, my body started to hurt so bad I couldn't get out of a chair.
Now, at this point, you're still doing the art stuff.
On the side, some, I also had another business in there. Sort of.
Okay, all right.
Some work that I did with couples work.
So how did this lead to ReZENergize?
How it led to ReZENergize is a friend of mine told me about this equipment. He sent me a little message and a video about this equipment called EE system. And what it is it's a scalar wave technology that was something that was discovered by Nikola Tesla in the 1800s. But when they blew up his lab and nobody would ever fund or sponsor him ever again, he was never able to bring any of those technologies forward for us to find. Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, she grew up with two physicists as parents, and when she grew up, she wanted to figure out how to heal the world a whole lot faster than she was able to do at the time. And she created this equipment, the EE system. When I went last year to Lexington, Kentucky, to ReZEnergy is what it's called. They're fabulous people. They're such lovely people. They had some equipment, and I went in to try it. So I begged my husband to go down, and I said, can we please go down here for our vacation? I want to spend 4 hours a day in their system.
Boy, that doesn't sound like much of a vacation to me.
Well, I know. It doesn't sound like it, but it was in Lexington, and he said, well, on one condition. And I said, what's your condition? He said, we get to go to all the bourbon distilleries, do a bourbon tour.
Good deal. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, so I want to do something to see if I can heal us, and you want to go get more bourbon. Okay, so we did. We compromised. And the thing that was shocking to me was after the first 2 hours, I was able to get up out of that chair 50% better.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Now, tell me about this machine. Yeah.
The scalar waves.
In 2 hours, you could get up 50%.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing that's funny about it. All you do is sit in there in a chair and take a nap. They don't hook up wires. They don't change any things. They don't adjust any buttons, nothing. You sit in the room with this scalar field, because the scalar field itself is so beneficial to the human body in the way that it's tuned in this equipment. It triggers your body to begin healing itself in ways it never did before.
So this happened in
Last year in June.
June of 2022,
Yes, sir.
and you still haven't started ReZENergize yet.
Not yet, but
Not
it wasn't. It was only a month after I had my first experience there that we started looking everywhere we could to find the money to buy the equipment.
I was going to say, so
We put the
you have
deposit-
the equipment.
Yes, we put the deposit down in August, and there was already a 6-month waiting list.
Oh,
and we
you're
ended up,
lucky it wasn't more.
I know.
Yeah.
And so we ended up getting it a little early, so it came in January of this year. So I've been doing this for 9 months, and it's the most profound equipment.
So
and
you
healing I've
basically,
ever
you're
seen.
working with individuals,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. So before I forget, give us your contact information. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, phone number, email, whatever you want to share.
Right. ReZENergize.com is our website, and the place is called ReZENergize Sanctuary. And you can contact us at 317-300-4033. And you can also email us at Deanna or admin at ReZENergize.com. Now, that's ReEnergize with a little Z there in the middle.
ReZENergize,
Yeah.
Deanna at ReZENergize.com. And since you are in customer service with Resorts Condominiums International, you return emails, phone calls, texts, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is a lost art today.
We
right?
are dedicated to that. Actually, most of the time, people can call at almost any time, and I will make sure that we're answering the phone because I want people. Here's my mission. Deeply, I believe, not to get emotional, I feel that the pain and the struggle that I had for so long, I'm sure that there are other people, and I just don't want other people to have to suffer as long and as badly as I did.
Now, are you suffering at all now?
Well, no, I'm not suffering like I was. And the thing that I can tell you that is shocking to me, that I had no idea until I worked in this equipment for the last 10 months. This is the only thing I've ever seen that helped to begin to rewire my brain. Because people who have complex post-traumatic stress or even just regular post-traumatic stress, a lot of times they have fight or flight characteristics. So you breathe, you have all chest breathing. When you breathe, it's all, right? And it's hard to get a deep breath because it's hard to ever feel safe or calm enough to calm down to take a deep breath. One day I was driving in traffic, rush hour traffic, and all of a sudden I took a deep breath into my belly and I was like, what is this? This is not normal. It was so...
You had never been able to do that?
No, not without meditating for an hour.
Wow. So, back to your husband for a minute. What's your husband do?
He's a pilot for a private company.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, neat. And you said you have kids.
Yes, they're grown.
They're grown. Any grandkids?
Yes, I have 2 grandsons who are in their teens, and then I have 2 granddaughters who were just now turned 1 in August.
I hope they're in town.
Yes.
That's good. I got 8 grandkids. They're all in town, except
Awesome.
away at college and stuff like that. But
Right.
yeah, grandkids are something else. Now, so you have this equipment in your home, or you rent an office, or what?
It's in a residential setting, so that you can, because this equipment is so powerful, people come not only to sit for a 2-hour session and just take a nap, but people also come from all over to stay overnight and sleep in that field because of what it can do.
So this is in your house?
It's in a yes, it's in half of a house because you have to have people who are there to, be a guardian for the space and the people who come. right? So you
Right.
need to be able to have a place you can sleep. And while we were going to do it in a commercial space in Nora, we just found that there was so much noise of traffic or honking or people, carts and deliveries and stuff, that was not a restful enough
Did you
sanctuary.
try that, or you
Well, we
just,
went and we looked at all of
you
the
looked at it
spaces,
and you
yeah,
saw
and
it,
it just none of it was going to fit for something where you want people to be able to really take a deep breath, settle down, and take a nap and rest in the space. Because when your nervous system is turned down, quiet, and resting, your body can do so much better at recovering, repairing, and restoring itself.
at the risk of giving away too much about myself, let me ask this question. Supposing somebody calls and says, I want to do this. Can I watch TV or read while I'm doing this?
You can absolutely read. We don't recommend watching TV or looking at your cell phone or looking at social media
But
because
reading's
those things.
okay.
Reading is completely okay.
Which helps you sleep when you're my age.
Absolutely.
So reading's okay, TV, cell phone, no.
It's just not the best.
Not the best.
I'm not saying it can't still work and support you. It just isn't your ideal space because I'll tell you, being somebody who went to week-long meditation camps, right? I spend some time in there each day saying prayers, meditating, and praying over the people that are coming, that will be coming, that we can magnify and multiply the healing and the love that they'll get today. Because here's what I'll tell you is the most important thing to me. We believe that if we can love people and give them a space where they feel safe to come and sit and recover, that they will leave a little bit brighter shining, a little bit more love that they can carry back into their families.
Yeah.
So the best way for me to make the community a better place is to bring each person in and love them and support them and care for them in a way that allows them to shine a little bit more bright.
Do most people come back and back and back, or do they just do it once, or how's that work?
It just depends on the people because
Yeah.
the equipment works differently with everybody. Because your body, the thing about it is your body has a genius in it that some people feel is God, right? Is a
Yes.
divinity in it.
Yes.
Your body has a genius in it that you don't get to demand or command, right? Your body knows what it needs and it will prioritize the things in your body that it needs to do first. So for example, some people come to this equipment and their eyes are better quite quickly for all kinds of reasons.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's
cool.
We took an aunt of mine down to the place in Lexington, and she stayed overnight, and she had had eye surgery. And the sensitivity, the light sensitivity was not getting
I
any
just
better.
had cataract surgery, so
She was really struggling, and she said,
Yeah.
how long, she called the doctor 3 weeks later, and she's like, how long is it going to take before I can stop wearing these sunglasses? He said, well, it just depends. Some people, they heal right away, and some people don't. A couple days after she went to the facility in Lexington, she called us, and she was like, I forgot to wear my sunglasses.
there
And
you
she
go.
didn't need them anymore. Now,
This is fascinating.
I know, right? And I thought, well, all right, dear God above, make my eyes better. But it hadn't happened, and it hadn't happened. But I realized my body was recovering from precancerous skin cells, which runs in my family.
Well,
My body was working on turning down that fight or flight so that I could be calmer. Those things all have everything to do with getting your entire system to be better when you're out of that cortisol constant adrenal push, right? So my body's like, sit down and be quiet, little girl. We know what we're doing. You don't get to tell us what to do,
we're going to run out of time. One more time, contact information.
Of course. Deanna at ReZENergize.com, ReZenergize.com. And our number is 317-300-4033. And our website is ReZENergize.com.
Deanna Morae, ReZENergize, thanks for being our guest this week. I haven't figured out who my guest for the 500th show is going to be, but the next show will be the 500th show. Thanks for watching on IndyInspireSmall.biz, and we'll see you then.